Hi, everybody, and welcome to our YouScan meetup series. So we are going to talk today about, let's say our conversation today will be structured in 4 main blocks. So we're going to make a very short recap of the basic operators just to make sure we remember what is it, how we use it. And in order to compare, what's the difference between basic operators and the advanced operators, right? So the next block is going to be advanced operators. The third block will be use cases. And then, of course, a Q&A session. But I always urge you guys to send your questions right away in the chat. So I'll always follow the chat. So I'm ready to answer any of your questions right away while we are talking here. Moving on, so the first and the foremost, let's quickly recap on the basic operators. So our basic operators are pretty common generally for things called like Boolean queries. So we have OR operator, which helps us list different keywords and monitor all of them simultaneously. We have an AND operator, which gives us an option to combine two different keywords or concepts within one mention. Then we have a distance operator, which is for identifying the space between two different keywords in the search query. Then we have quotes. With the help of the quotes, we can fix the spelling and the order of the phrase, for example. In that case, the system will not build any forms of the verbs, for example, like tenses for verbs or possessive case for nouns and so on and so forth. So it will strictly look for dimensions the way they are spelled in the quotes. The next operator is parentheses. When we use parentheses to combine group of the keywords within the same let's say context, or not the context, but within the same range, like synonyms, for example. And then we add additional part of the query. And we have two operators for exclusions. It's and, not, and stop words. Basically, the difference between is pretty simple. You can add not to any part of the query. Imagine you have like a couple of blocks in your query and you want to make exclusion just to the specific part of the query. In that case, you will use the and not operator. For if you want to just get rid of the noise within the entire search query, then it's easier to use the stop words because they will work for the whole search query that you have in your topic. Let's move on. So now let's compare the advanced operators to the basic operators. So basic operators, they will give you like sometimes very broad and extensive amount of results. And in certain use cases, you might need to look for something more narrowed and something more specific. And here comes the list of the advanced operators that we have. So basically, we have let's say 3 types of the advanced operators. The first type is the regular advanced operators, which are pretty similar to the filters in the UI that we have. It's country, language, source type, post type, and content type. Then the second block of the advanced operators is the author-based advanced operators, which with the help of which you can look for specifically targeted accounts of influencers, for example, based on their nicknames or names. And the same for publication places, let's say big medias like BBC, New York Times, whatever. So using their nicknames and names from the official pages, you can build up the topics around their content only. And the third block of the also author-based operators is kind of like more extended version of what I just mentioned, and it's included just in the paid add-on, which is called Audience Insights. But it's very useful tool for businesses that are working within the influencer marketing, because this list of the author-based operators are giving you the ability to filter out your results by author's biography, the audience age, gender, subscribers, their interests, interest groups, and occupations. So basically, in some other words, we might call it like social panels. So with the help of those advanced operators, you can build up different group of people within different interests, not different, within specific interests, for example, and target them, I don't know, with your ads campaign, for example. Can be, right? The use case can be can look like this, or you can build up social panels based on occupations and amount of subscribers, let's say within a certain range, and target them for your influencers campaign. So there are a lot of different use cases for that. We're going to look at them a little bit later on. And now I just wanted to like give you an idea of how you can launch these advanced operators first. Yeah, no, not how. I wanted to tell you, like, you might be wondering specifically with the first block here, with those like advanced operators of country, language, source type, post type, and content type, like what's the difference between these operators and the filters that you have on a topic on the topic creation level in the UI. Let me just quickly hover over to the topic creation slot. So you have all of the same filters here, right? So, and you might be wondering, like, why do you need to do something manually with advanced operators if you can do that in the UI? But the difference between the ability of creating query based on UI filters and advanced filters or advanced operators for geography and language, for example, is in the fact that when you apply filters here in the UI, they will serve for the whole query. Like you might be having, again, a couple of blocks of the queries looking for different objects. But once you specify the filters here, like geography, for example, you won't be able to, like make the differentiation, which part of the query should look for English mentions and which one for Spanish. In this case, what we can use our advanced operators, and we can add filters of geography, language, whatever, to certain part of the query. So we might have a part of the query that we want to look for within United States, for example, and the second one within Germany, whatever. Yeah, so let me get back to my presentation. So my next main point of the first part would be, like, you might be wondering why you generally need to use the advanced operators, right? So the first use case I already explained. So in case you need to have, like, build a query based on different objects and segment them within different countries, languages, or types of sources, for example, or even the sources itself, then you will need to use the advanced operators. This is the most easiest way to do that. The second point here is that with the help of advanced operators, you can solve one of the biggest problems of all social media experts when it comes to the data collection. So you've probably already faced that, is that Instagram and Telegram and a couple of more sources doesn't have any geographical metadata. So they are basically like, there is no way for us as a provider or a technical tool to collect geographical data of the mentions from Instagram, for example, and you will always see them as with the label undefined geo, right? And having an ability to create advanced operators give us an option to make the query in such a sophisticated way that we can build up a query based on the geographical filter, and additionally set up, let's say, an advanced filter for Instagram only within a specific language and additional keywords, so to say. So this is basically the best way how you can work with Instagram data if you don't want your topic to be overwhelmed by the amount of irrelevant mentions coming from worldwide from Instagram. The next point here is that with the help of the advanced operators, you're able to create author-based topics. This is something that I already mentioned. So you can build up topics purely based on specific group of people or influencers or authors. This can give you an ability, again, this actually leads me to the next point, is that you can, with the help of advanced operators, you can very quickly and very easily find influencers within specific interest categories or subscribers amounts, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, which is also very cool when it comes to the advanced operators, is that it gives you an ability to create very broad market research topics or very broad market research queries. For example, if you would create if you would need to create something like everything within specific country or region, or let's say you would like to collect everything sampled from Germany, just to understand the trends in social media, advanced operators will help you with that. But let's take a look at some real-time examples, which I prepared for you just in a couple of slides. Before we move on to the use cases, I wanted to also explain you how to call those advanced operators because they are not visible in the interface at all. So you have two options. If you're working with Windows, in order to call out this drop-down menu with the advanced operators, you will need to click on Control Space. And for macOS users, you will need to click on Option Space. And basically, every time you need to call the advanced operators, you will need to use one of these hotkeys. Now let's take a look at the real-time use cases. So first and foremost, what could be interesting for a lot of clients is the ability to build up complex queries for the competitor analysis and benchmarking, for example. Since advanced operators are giving you the ability of setting specific filters to different parts of the query, this might help you to build up query for different, let's say, countries or languages or source types, and then afterwards within the collected data, compare them between each other. For example, in my case here, I decided to create a query to do the competitor analysis or the benchmarking, let's say, of the most famous banks in the United States and in Germany. So what is tricky here is the second part of the query where you see the Raiffeisen and the Paribas Bank. Those banks are very popular worldwide. At least Raiffeisen is pretty common in most of the European countries, and Paribas is not only European bank, it's also like, I think it's a Canadian bank, and they're worldwide. So imagine you would use a regular UI filters for this query. It will just give you a mess. It will collect you mentions worldwide about Raiffeisen from Poland, Spain, UK, whatever. But you specifically need Capital One and Citibank within US, mentions from the US, and for Raiffeisen and Paribas within Germany. And here we go. We just like give the query, like segment the query into two blocks, and we add this like advanced operator of the country to each block of the query differently, right? So the first one, we would have a country US, and for the second one, we would just simply choose the country Germany. Pretty straightforward. So unless we have any questions, I think I can move on to the second use case. The second use case is pretty standard as well for brand health, crisis management at scale, but with the idea and the consideration of the information that I told you about the Instagram. So since there is no geographical data for Instagram, for example, it's very hard to distinguish irrelevant mentions. So what you can do using the advanced operators is that you can give the input into the query constructor of and like searching for mentions within Germany, as you can see in this case, for again Raiffeisen and Paribas, and then just specify an alternative like or operator and say that you're looking for Instagram data, but within German language only. What happens next if we create something like this? We will get all mentions from Germany within all possible languages, because Germany is pretty multinational country. So we might have people there speaking German, Turkish, English for sure, right? Maybe some Scandinavian languages as well, and French as well in some parts of the Germany. So the geographical operator will give us an option to collect all possible mentions, no matter like what language it is. But for Instagram, we would just like narrow the search for mentions from Germany only. And this will help us get rid at least of the whole noise that can come from different mentions worldwide, from, I don't know, like Australia, US, Latin America, and so on and so forth. Additionally, actually, what you can do, what would be my own suggestion, is to always, when you create this like type of a sophisticated query for Instagram and geolocation, for the Instagram part, you can always use and then list some keywords that people might use in dimensions related specifically to the geographical region. Let's say in that case, I would add keywords of, like, I would specify the biggest cities, the federal states of Germany, because they have 16 federal states. I would use some parts of the domains that are frequently used in Germany, like let's say hotmail.de, right? And so on and so forth. That will give you even like better results compared to what you see here on my slide. Cool. Let's move on to the third use case, which is social panels. So again, we are actually like just moved from the first part of the Boolean, from the advanced operators, to the second part where we have author-based operators. And they are giving you the ability to understand your social audiences better, right? Imagine you need to understand like what's your audience gender is, what their interest is, whatever. Or you just need to collect, you have, let's say, marketing campaigns within your brand with specific list of influencers, and you need to track their performance, like how good the engagement is of the posts, of their collaborative posts with your brand. You can easily just use the author operator within the search query creation flow and list the nicknames of your ambassadors, of your influencers via OR, and just collect the whole data that they are posting. Let's say for the 30 days, it could be longer for the whole year if you need to evaluate the risk management, for example, of the influencers, to understand like whether they had any crisis situations or some hate speeches and so on and so forth. So again, just use the hotkey, pick up the author part, pick up the author nickname, and list the nicknames of the authors. The next use case is the vice versa scenario compared to the previous slide. So in the previous slide, I said that using the author-based operators, the first segment of the author-based operators is very good for tracking your marketing campaign and your collaboration with the influencers and authors. And in this case, we can do vice versa. We can look and outreach to the influencers if we need to find new influencers or rising stars, for example. So imagine we're working in the beauty industry and we have a task of finding new influencers that are already mentioning our brand on their social media. We just don't know about that they are mentioned as. So what we can do, we can segment the interest, let's say beauty, via the operator author interest categories. Then we can set up a specific amount of subscribers we want to start looking at, let's say 1,500,000, even 10,000, whatever is your threshold in this case. Then we can add a specific source. Let's say we are looking for new influencers on TikTok. And then again, additionally, you can add, let's say, names of your brands, but you can even start searching like this. So you can find some new influencers that are recently appeared on the market using this type of the query. There is a plenty of ways how you can utilize this logic. It could be used not only for influencer marketing, it could be used for, let's say, outreach for media, because you can build up queries based on occupations. You can find a list of journalists and you can reach out to them if you need to, do something with, like spread out your press release, for example, and so on and so forth. Plenty things what you can do with that. And I'm actually heading towards the last use case that I have for you today. And it is related to market research. So as I mentioned, the ability of filtering out by, let's say, author, age, specific country, and combine all of these advanced operators all together can help you with big researches and can help you to find some trending insights, uncover some trend based on the big amount of data. Usually earlier, when we didn't have the ability to use the advanced operators, there was like no option for us to create topics without any keywords in the query. And now we can do that just based on some information about geography and age, for example, or even just geography. So you don't need to add any keywords anymore into your query if you would like to work on a huge amount of data. So for example, what I have here, I would like to understand what are the main conversations or trending conversations within a specific amount of people within this age range from 18 years to 35 and in United Kingdom, right? So I just used two operators, the geography filter and the age operator, and then I will get everything that has these two labels on it. And as you can see on the right side corner, of course, it gives me like insane results. It's unlikely possible that somebody would be able out of the research team to digest such amount of data. And it's unlikely possible that your tariff plan can handle such amount of data, right? So you won't be physically able to create a topic out of such a big amount of data. But what you can do next, all of your accounts, they have an ability to do data sampling. It's on the bottom here. Just give me a second. I just did a very bad appearance of my screenshot. Let's take a look at this now. Let me just make it smaller like this. So all of your accounts, they have an ability to do data sampling. Of course, again, on 8 million of mentions is too much. So it would be better to narrow it down to some more keywords or some more filters. But if you would reach something like 1 million of the monthly mentions limit, you can make the data sampling and let's say collect just every 5th or every 10th mention. Let's say it's going to be like 10% of sample data. And you will still see and you will get still insights because the sample data that you will see in your topic physically, it's going to be extrapolated to 100%. And basically, once you look at the stats, you will see the stats that are based on 100% of data. And it's pretty reliable, I would say. So it's pretty a standard statistical math behind that. And it's pretty proven. So don't be afraid that don't have biases on using the sample data. There might be some discrepancy, of course, compared to the real topic with 100% data, but it's not going to be more than, I don't know, like 10 or 15% of this discrepancy between the results in the analytical section. Don't have any questions. I have just one point to cover today, and it's like a small quiz. So yeah, I see that I do have some answers already. I can communicate them right away. So we have just 3 questions. Can we create author-based topics using basic Boolean operators? Everybody responded no, that's absolutely correct. Congratulations. So the next question is, where can we find advanced operators? In the main user interface or using the hotkey? And of course, the correct answer is using hotkey, and everybody responded correctly. Cool. And the third question, can we use advanced operators for different parts of the query? Everybody responded yes. That's cool. Amazing. So I just wanted to thank everybody who joined us today. And to say that, again, we'll meet next month, last Wednesday of the next month. The invitation is already on your calendar for the whole year. So, and again, whenever you have questions, feel free to reach out to our support chat or to your managers via emails. And I hope that was helpful, and you'll find, a proper way of implementing it in your daily working and monitoring tasks. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day ahead, or the great end of the day, depending on in which part of the world you are. Cheers. Bye-bye.